What's happening, y'all? Welcome inside the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Danny and Bush coming at you with our final mock draft, and this time we're going 2 rounds. 2-round 2021 NFL mock draft. The draft is about a week from today. It's 8 days away from today as we're recording this, so we're excited. We wanted to hop on here, get our final mock draft out for you guys because it's draft season. We're officially almost done watching film, done talking about these guys' film trades. We're ready to get into where they actually are going.
Yeah, no, definitely. And as Corey mentioned, we're doing our final mock draft. We're taking on 2 rounds this time. And before you say anything, these guys are going to keep us for 3 hours because let's be honest, their 1-round mock drafts are already an hour. What's the 2-round going to look like? Now, we'll cut it down, condense it. You guys basically already know our thoughts on a lot of these guys. We'll try to keep it about a minute per pick just so you guys can have a smooth viewing experience and we're not just dragging everything on. So that being said, Corey, anything you want to mention before we head into the intro?
Yes, go down to the bottom of the video right now and like the video. It takes 2 seconds and it helps us out. Comment any of your thoughts down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hit the intro.
Okay, so as Corey was alluding to prior to hitting the intro, we're going to start off. We have the first overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. Corey, are they taking Kyle Trask?
No, they are not. And by the way, I am controlling the AFC and Danny is controlling the NFC. We forgot to mention that. But Trevor Lawrence is the pick. He has been the pick for God knows how long now. He's the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. There is absolutely no analysis needed. The guy apparently doesn't have a chip on his shoulder, and people think that's news. I don't give a shit. He's the first overall pick, and I'm not even thinking twice about it.
Yeah, I agree. So with that being said, you're back on the clock here, and you got the New York Jets.
Yeah, and it is worth noting that we are not doing a what we would do mock draft. We are going to try and actually predict what happens here. We normally try and do the what would we do kind of things, but this is what I would do. This is what the Jets are going to do. I would pick Zach Wilson, quarterback from BYU. I think he is the second best quarterback in this draft. I think his tools that he has, his deep accuracy, his mobility, his out-of-structure plays are not teachable. And not that the other quarterbacks don't have those things. I just think Zach Wilson has it to an even greater degree, and he's the more pro-ready of Fields, Lance, and him.
Yeah, fully. I mean, again, as everybody on the channel already knows, Zach Wilson's currently my quarterback 3. My quarterback 2 is actually the guy I'm going to be taking next. A little sneak peek. But yeah, you covered it totally with Wilson. Out of structure, big arm, accurate down the field. I fully think he could fit in that Kyle Shanahan type system that they're running with the Jets. With that being said, mentioning Kyle Shanahan, we have the 3rd overall pick. And basically, Justin Fields saw what Zach Wilson did at his pro day and said, if whatever you could do, I can do better, basically, because everybody just wanted to hop on the trend of rolling out on their backside and chucking a ball 70 yards down the field. But that's going to be Justin Fields. I don't buy the Mac Jones here. I just can't see trading 3 first-round picks for a guy of the physical limitations that Mac Jones represents. Don't get me wrong. Mac Jones is a very smart, intelligent quarterback. I understand that. But I saw a tweet today that actually made a ton of sense. If Mac Jones isn't one of the top 5 minds at the quarterback position,
yeah, there was Jim Morrissey, right?
Yeah, he'll most likely bust. If Justin Fields has one of the top 5 minds at the position, he'll be a top 5 quarterback. And I fully agree. I think the physical potential of Justin Fields combined with, as we've mentioned, he's one of the smartest guys in this entire class that doesn't even get the credit of being that guy. I mean, he won the highest Wonderlic score of any quarterback. And in terms of actual second read progressions, he was actually the most accurate in the class. So take him here, 3rd overall. I think he'd be perfect, and he would be my dynasty quarterback 1 for rookies. So that being said,
real quick, we've heard that story before too. The Mac Jones has got a great mind. Didn't we hear this about Dwayne Haskins when he was coming out, that he had some elite mind? Didn't we hear this about Josh Rosen when he was coming out, that he had some I'm betting on mobility. It's the way to win in the NFL nowadays. And 4.4 speed at the quarterback position is no joke. So yeah, Justin Fields is who I would take. I think that's who the San Francisco 49ers are taking. And while we're on it, real quick, mini rant. Betting lines, they go as the money goes. It's not Vegas knows something. The way the money goes is the way betting lines work. So Mac Jones being the betting favorite a couple weeks ago just meant that people were betting on Mac Jones, not they knew something that the other people didn't know.
With that being said, though, Corey, I have the 4th overall pick here with the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm looking to target your Denver Broncos there at 9 if you'd be willing to move up.
I'm not willing to move up. I think I'm going to sit pat at 9.
Okay. So with that being said, because it's a predictive mock, now if this is me, I would take Trey Lance, I would run and I would build around him because let's be honest here, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you have that young stud quarterback to build with your new head coach. However, I think if they stand pat and they can't find another trade partner, they just take Kyle Pitts. They just take Kyle Pitts.
I think that's what's going to happen, personally.
I mean, the way I see it, he is the second best overall player in this class. And if you cannot find a trade partner down, you don't take a Micah Parsons. You don't take a corner. You don't just take someone because they're a need at Lucas. You take a player because they are the best player on the board. And Kyle Pitts is a generational tight end prospect. 99th percentile athlete. One of the best producing tight ends we've ever seen come out. 800 yards and 12 touchdowns in 9 games this year. He is just an absolute freak of nature. And pairing him, with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, like target your Atlanta Falcons at that point because that offense is putting up 30 a game. So with that being said, you're back on the clock here, and I think it's a pretty mandatory pick here. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I this is a big debate point, right? I'm sure people who are Cincinnati Bengals fans know this, that the big debate is Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase. Like, we don't know which one to go. I heard Kyle Brandt on the Rich Eisen show talk about it's like the comparison of fixing his driveway or something versus buying a new big screen TV. The driveway is more practical. It's probably going to increase the value of his house more, but the big screen TV is more fun and you get more use out of it from an entertainment perspective. I think they're going to opt for the big screen TV. I think they're going to take Jamar Chase. I personally would take Penei Sewell, but I think they're going to take Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. And if you're at that point, if you're taking Jamar Chase at 5 in this type of receiver class, you're clearly viewing him as a generational type prospect. Yeah, that has to be the frame of mind. You have to say, okay, you know what? As good as Sewell is over the rest of the competition, we view Jamar Chase to have that type of leverage, that type of hold on the rest of the wide receiver position. So if you're Cincinnati and you have Joe Burrow and you have the continuity between those two players, I can absolutely see them going in this direction. Now, I think we're both under the agreement that if we were running the front office, it would be Penei Sewell because let's be honest here, I don't care what toys you have if you can't stand upright at Joe Burrow. But I just think he's going to be the pick at this point. But we got Miami back on the clock here at 6, and they traded a first-round pick to get back up from 12 to 6. You're actually making the pick here. And to be honest,
they're going to trade again because I think this is their doomsday. I think I don't think they're going to take Penei Sewell in this situation. I think they invested heavily in their offensive line with Austin Jackson last year. They have Robert Hunt, who's the right tackle. Again, I don't know necessarily what they're thinking about those guys, but I would imagine they wouldn't pick Penei Sewell in this situation. That's just my guess. So I am now going to trade up with the Denver Broncos because I think this is a much easier value swing than opposed to getting up to 4 with Atlanta. So I think they can get away with trading up Denver, that is, for a second-round pick and maybe like a future 4th or a future 3rd. Like, I don't think it would cost them too much.
I think it'd be a little bit more, but yeah, whatever. Like,
it's only 3 spots, man. Yeah. I think what Miami would be targeting with this pick,
I think it'd be a future first.
Alabama receivers, and I think they can get that at 9. So I think they wouldn't move down for that much, knowing that.
It'd probably be like, if I were to guess, it'd probably be 9 this year, and then next year's 1 to get it done.
I don't think it would cost that much to go up 3 spots, dude. I don't think it would cost that much. I think it would probably be more so like their second rounder this year, and then like their 4th rounder next year or something like that. Like, it probably wouldn't cost them that much. That's
fair. Okay, well, whatever. We'll just push it out for sake of the recording, and should be good. So I'm assuming, let's just make him a Bronco.
Yeah. Right? So Trey Lance, he fits that scheme pretty well, to be honest. The way that Pat Shurmur was able to utilize Daniel Jones in his rookie season as a runner, getting him out on the move. Daniel Jones has probably looked the best in his career. I guess he's only been in the NFL for 2 years, but he definitely looked better in his rookie season than he looked last year with Pat Shurmur's system. And I think the weapons that he has obviously are undeniable. He has Noah Fant, he has Cortland Sutton, he has Jerry Jeudy, he has KJ Hamler, he has very underrated offensive line in Denver as well. So I think that's a great situation for Trey Lance to be able to succeed. And I think Denver is going to be patient. I think what just happened with what I just did is very realistic for what I think they're going to do. I don't think they're just going to sell the farm to get up to number 4 and secure Trey Lance. I think they're going to be patient, see what the Falcons do. And if the Falcons don't take Trey Lance, then they're going to start trying to call and get up.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. With that being said, I'm here at 7 overall with the Detroit Lions. And you're in a tough spot because when you're the Lions, you have a bunch of needs. But when you look at that wide receiver core right now, Jared Goff is not going to be able to do anything with Quintez Cephas and Tyrell Williams as his top 2 weapons. I think personally, if they're in this spot, again, it's going to come down to between the Alabama receivers. And because you don't really have support around them, like if they had more support in the receiving core, I would be fine taking Waddle. But because they need like a guy to step in right away, I think Devonta Smith would be a better fit for them. Again, when you're talking about Devonta Smith, he's ready-made. He can play any of the receiver spots, fluid mover. He can separate at will, one of the best release packages in this entire class. Best hands, underrated verticality. He is the full package when it comes to receiver. Now, you're going to get nerds on Twitter saying, oh, he's 170 pounds. What's he going to do? No. Chad Johnson played at 170 pounds, and that's a great comp for the way Devonta Smith.
Marvin Harrison said he played at
Marvin Harrison's another one. Yeah, so I think Devonta Smith on the Lions could definitely see like 130 targets as a rookie. I know that seems lofty, but looking at their wide receiver core right now, aside from TJ Hawkinson, nothing will really shock you away from getting Devonta Smith that level of targets. And I think it would be a home run at 7 for them, in my opinion. So
he fits with what Jared Goff does well too, right?
Yeah.
So because Jared Goff likes his route runners, he likes his guys that can get open. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, those guys. I think Devonta Smith's a perfect fit for what Jared Goff does, and I think he seems like a Lion to me. I don't know what it is about him, but I can just see him being a Lion. It makes a lot of sense in my head, and I like the fit of that.
Yeah, and back on the clock here, and Carolina's thanking their lucky stars. Okay. Yeah. They're looking at this. Yes, you got Darnold for a year. I get it. Like he could end up amounting to their franchise quarterback. But I think the way that they're looking at this is, if Darnold doesn't work out, we'll just take our quarterback next year. Oh, we'll just take our quarterback in 2023. We can prolong it for at least a year or two because we got a guy that can stopgap if worst case scenario, he doesn't develop into that star.
You have security with your coaching staff. You signed a long contract. You're not worried about losing your job or anything like that.
And guess what? Now you get security on that left side of the offensive line because Penei Sewell is not leaving the top 8 here. Like I just can't fathom Penei Sewell being passed on if he makes it to number 8 for Carolina. And if you're a Panthers fan and you're getting Penei Sewell, who I think is probably the 3rd best overall player in this class after Lawrence and Pitts, it's a home run. It's a home run. So with that being said, you're back here at 9 after moving down with the Broncos. Who are you thinking here with Dolphins?
Real quick on Penei Sewell, I actually heard, I think it was someone, I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but someone said that the Panthers have had a different starter at left tackle since Jordan Gross retired in 2011. So that whether it's Rashawn Slater or it's Penei Sewell, you need a left tackle. And I think they're going to go in that position. One of those guys should be on the board for them. So I think it makes a lot of sense for what Carolina needs and what can help Sam Darnold grow into the quarterback that he hopefully can become. So I think it's a pretty easy decision here on the clock for me. I'm going to take Jalen Waddle because I think that's the direction that they were looking at 6, potentially, if they didn't trade down, which was either Smith or Waddle. I think they're probably fine with both guys. Obviously, both of them have a connection with their quarterback, their current quarterback. So I'm going to go Jalen Waddle. You have Will Fuller already. He's on a 1-year deal. You have a lot of speed on that team, obviously, with Will Fuller and with Jalen Waddle. You obviously have Devontae Parker still to play more of a possession type role, a contested catch type role. It's an interesting receiving core, the way that it would shake out. But I think with Jalen Waddle, you just get a way more souped up version of what Jakeem Grant has already shown to bring your team.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Jalen Waddle would be an absolute stud. And I mentioned you got bigger receivers with Parker and Williams. And then you obviously, again, you signed Fuller for a year. But now you get a guy in Waddle who can do it on all 3 levels of the field. You got the yards after catch perspective. You got the downfield perspective. This guy just knows how to get open and separate at an elite rate. And if you're Tua, you got the continuity already with him throughout college. Now you get a guy who can really separate in that receiving core. I think that would be a slam dunk, especially at 9th overall. Because quite frankly, I mean, you're talking about these top 3 receivers. All of them in terms of grading are literally like a point off within each other. I think I have Smith as a 112, Waddle as a 111, and Chase is like a 110 right now, which is just like for reference, all mid first round picks in terms of grading. I think they'd be fine with any of them. But then you get the guy that worked with Tua at 9th overall, slam dunk. That being said, I rambled on a little bit. Let's get to the Cowboys. And that's going to be really a discussion here. For a lot of people, this is probably going to come down to Slater, Surtain, or Horn. For me personally, I just think with all the work that they've done with Surtain this offseason, Again, his dad has already said, I want my son to be in Dallas. I know that's a little storyline, but basically what that tells me is that the Cowboys have probably done a good amount of work with him, talked to the kid a lot, and the dad just has really good vibes in saying, well, you know what? This team is showing a lot of interest in my kid. This is where I want him to go. Predictive mock, Patrick Surtain's not making it past the Cowboys if he falls to 10. And in this spot, you sure up.
You literally run to the podium for this next pick, you're saying.
Yeah, I know which one it's going to be, but just going to quickly mention with Surtain. Now you pair him back with his college homeboy and Trevon Diggs, and you just rebuild Alabama. That's the plan, right? With that being said, podium pick. I mean, you don't let Rashawn Slater pass you. Like, no. I'm not going to screw the Giants over. I'm a Cowboys fan, but if Rashawn Slater falls to 11 for the Giants, Rashawn Slater has to be the pick. Because you got that inside-outside versatility. You got that steady-made tackle that can play on both sides for Daniel Jones. You want Andrew Thomas to develop on the left side. Guess what? Rashawn Slater can play right. You want to maybe play Rashawn Slater on the left. Guess what? You can just play Andrew Thomas on the right. You have so much versatility to do with this type of piece on your offensive line. And any position he plays on the offensive line in terms of Rashawn Slater, he does at such an efficient technical level while also combining superhuman strength. If you guys have seen him front squatting 4 plates, which if you guys don't front squat, you don't know how fucking ridiculous that is. Anyways, that being said, next pick, we got the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock here. And typically here, they would want one of those top 3 receivers, but they're all gone. So with that being said, you just take J.C. Horn. Your next biggest need is cornerback. And J.C. Horn, I mentioned how much I love Patrick Surtain. J.C. Horn is right there with him. I honestly think with, let's say Caleb Farley's healthy right now, those top 3 corners are all worth top 10 picks. That's how talented this class is, because we're going to talk about in the second round as well how deep it is. But this top end talent in terms of Horn, Surtain, and Farley is just absolutely ludicrous. You're mentioning last year, for example, I think they all would have been my cornerback too after Jeff Okudah, to be honest. Like, as much as I loved CJ Henderson, these guys are more complete in terms of what they can do. If you're Philly and you're 12th overall and you get a guy that can fill that type of need with that type of talent, you run to the podium. That being said, you're back on the clock here after I had that little spiel of NFC East. What are you thinking here for the Chargers?
Yeah, so I'm in a bind here because I seriously think the Caleb Farley thing is a bunch of bullshit. Like, I think he does have a back concern, but the fact that he's going to, fall super far, I disagree. Like, I think this is a premier position, a premier player, top blue chip talent at the position. There's no way this dude falls past, 15 in the draft. I just don't see that happening. I know some people were like, oh, well, he's going to fall because of the back concerns. It's like, if he was a wide receiver, maybe. He's a cornerback, and he's a number 1 type of corner. So I think it'd be hard to pass on if I'm the Los Angeles Chargers right now, because you just cut Casey Hayward. You have a bit of uncertainty in that area of your team. I think this is a deeper offensive tackle class than it is a cornerback class. So I'm going to take Caleb Farley right now.
Caleb Farley. All right.
Clearly, that is your I would agree. Probably it's your biggest need is offensive tackle, but I feel more confident in my ability to get a guy that can start for me in the second round than I do about a corner that can start for me in the second round. Especially Caleb Farley. If he didn't have back concerns, there's no way in hell he'd be here at 13 right now.
I fully agree. I mean, I mentioned it like it would be a top 3. Farley would have a good case for my number 1 due to his movement skills if we fully knew about his health. The thing is that when you're comparing him to even those other 2 corners in Horn and Surtain, I know they had fantastic testing numbers, but just watching the film alone, you could just see that Farley moves different from them.
He was probably a better athlete than both of them, and they had top 50 corners of the last 1,300 that have tested type of numbers.
Yeah, I think Surtain was the 41st overall out of the last 1,500, and Horn was 3rd. And to say that Farley is more athletic than both, people, it's just insane to think about. With that being said, though, I'm back on the clock here with the Minnesota Vikings, and honestly, this might shock some people, but I'm going to take Elijah Vera Tucker. The way I'm looking at this right now, Dakota Dozier is their starting left guard. If you guys have not watched Dakota Dozier play football, you don't want to watch Dakota Dozier play football. Talking about Elijah Vera Tucker, he's got versatility. He can play that left guard for you day one, and honestly might end up having a Pro Bowl type career at left guard, according to a lot of the sources that I trust in the NFL. A lot of them are saying that he, similar to what Zach Martin was coming out of college, where doesn't have the requisite length to fully play tackle, but in terms of technique, in terms of hand placement, in terms of footwork, can step in immediately and be a really good day one guard. I think if you're the Vikings there, you got 14. You got an offense that's really built around Kirk Cousins and running the football. You get a guy in Elijah Vera Tucker who could really complement that offensive line tremendously. I think that's going to be a great value for them at 14. Anyways, you're 15 here. What are you doing?
I've talked about a fit that I've really liked for the Patriots for a while now. I think I kind of want to pull the trigger on it. This might be considered a reach to some people. Give me Rashad Bateman.
I like it.
I seriously think that the Patriots are going to love this dude. I don't know what it is about him that reminds me of like a New England Patriot, but he has that pro style like mentality, that pro style game that I think Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are really going to like. And I just think he's going to go higher than some people think. I seriously think people are like, oh, we don't know who wide receiver 4 is in the draft. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I think everybody knows who wide receiver 4 is in this draft. And I think because of the amount of teams that need wide receivers and because of I think it's a drop off after Rashad Bateman in terms of like, especially when you get into like size and stuff, because a lot of the guys that are next in that next year, according to the NFL, the Kadarius Tonys, Elijah Moores and stuff, they don't bring that size element that Rashad Bateman can bring. And he's not a huge receiver. He's like 6 foot 190, but he definitely brings something to the table that not a lot of these other like slot guys bring. So I like the fit of Rashad Bateman to the Patriots. I think it's going to be a thing that's interesting. And I don't know if they would pass on Micah Parsons, which I just did, but it should be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So with that being said, you mentioned Micah Parsons. I think this has to be the pick here. The way I'm looking at the Cardinals depth chart, they want to go best player available. They would have taken one of the cornerbacks if they fell. None of them fell. They would have taken one of the like a Waddle or something to complement that offense if he fell. Didn't fall. The way I'm looking at the fit of Micah Parsons on this team is right now at inside linebacker, you currently have slated as Jordan Hicks and Isaiah Simmons. He can play that in a pinch because obviously Isaiah Simmons is not going to be a full-time inside linebacker for that team. He's going to play some strong. He's going to play some nickel. He's going to be moved around the formation. Hypothetically, I don't know actually what the team's going to do, but the way I see Isaiah Simmons is he's going to be used all over the formation. You have Micah Parsons, who you can slide in immediately as your day one Sam, can play edge in a pinch, can do a lot for you, similarly to what you got with Isaiah Simmons in the back end. Micah Parsons can do for you in the front end of your defense. So you have two versatile athletic beasts of chess pieces. Put them on the same defense and just let them be athletic monsters. Because honest to God, if you take the processing part away from Micah Parsons right now and just let him go downhill, attack blockers, come off the edge, make plays in the backfield, he is going to succeed day one. Literally.
Exactly. So, the same problem Devin White has is processing and coverage. If that's his problem, I think most people would agree right now that Devin White is at minimum a top like 8 linebacker in the league. Some people might even say he's one of the best in the league. I personally, I'm not there yet, but what he brings you alone in the downhill game when he's moving downhill is enough to make him in that conversation, because even if he has some lapses in coverage from time to time, he's going to bring those splash plays. He's going to bring those sacks and forced fumbles and big hits and stuff that Micah Parsons can bring as well. And they tested similarly. So it's not an outrageous comparison. And speaking of outrageous, the fact that Christian Darrisaw is on the board for the Las Vegas Raiders is absolutely absurd. I think you cut like half your offensive line, you get your day one starting right tackle. Maybe Tevin Jenkins is someone you look at a little closer just because I believe he did play right tackle for a period of time. So that might be a little bit more interesting, but Christian Darrisaw is the better prospect in my opinion from the people that I trust. So I'll go with Darrisaw to pair with Colton Miller, who just got extended.
Yep, I fully agree. I mean, Darrisaw is an absolute savage. You plug him on that left side after cutting like half your team. I think that's a slam dunk. With that being said here, you're at 18 and you interested in dropping to 20 by chance?
You would like to come up?
Yeah, with Chicago.
For Mac Jones, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All I need is a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, that's what I was going to offer. Yeah, 1 and 3.
Spot.
Yeah, no, it's good. And if you're Miami, I mean, looking at it from like an NFL perspective, you're getting a 3rd round pick to drop 2 spots and still probably take the guy that you got. Like from a real life team building perspective.
Chicago. There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, I was panicking for a second. From a real life team building perspective, this would be a slam dunk. So let me just see. Okay, Bears.
Throw in like a 6 or something.
Yeah, we could just probably do this, to be honest. Like there. Next year's 6, because we're not doing next year's in this. Actually, we're not even doing this year's 6 anyway. So
yeah.
And it's going to be Mac Jones. The way I'm looking at it is Chicago is in quarterback purgatory right now. And they view it as, well, after Mac Jones, what else can I get in this class? Like, are you going to take a Kellen Mond in like the third round? Are you going to take a Jamie Newman, Kyle Trask? No. If you're looking at it from a 2-spot perspective, you can part with that third to make sure you secure by far the 5th quarterback in this class and jump a team who, quite frankly, if Mac Jones was there for Washington at 19, he would have been the pick. He just has to have been the case. You got a ready-made NFL franchise to win a division that only really needs a quarterback, and you got a quarterback falling to them. Now, Chicago understands that they had to make this move to secure the guy that they want, and Mac Jones would fit really well with that team. That being said here, I'm at the 19th overall pick with Washington, and this might shock you, to be honest. I'm looking at JOK. Because they don't really have a good amount of coverage at their linebacker spot right now. And my one friend who's a Washington fan basically said, if they don't get a quarterback, or if they don't, or trade up for a quarterback, or if they don't get a wide receiver, he really likes JOK fitting on the back end of that defense. Again, you got a guy who's got the versatility, can play in your nickel packages, can play inside at weak side linebacker.
Play safety if you need him to, honestly.
Can play safety, honestly. Like, you want to do something funky where you have freaking Cameron Curl, Landon Collins, and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah all on the field in your nickel at one time. You have the versatility to be able to do so. And if they got JOK, looking at from a strict coverage standpoint, we already know their pass rush with Chase Young, those interior defensive linemen, Matt Ioannidis. Like, it's ridiculous. You get a guy of the coverage skills of this linebacker with JOK. You got a back end that consists of Landon Collins, Cameron Curl, William Jackson, Kendall Fuller, and Jimmy Moreland right now, which is just insane to think about. Getting JOK here from a coverage standpoint would literally make this defense, in my opinion, probably the best in the league, honestly. Like, that's how crazy it would be.
When you have a rush like the Washington football team has, all you need is playmakers on the back end. And JOK, anytime I watch any player against Notre Dame, is making plays, whether it's big sideline-to-sideline tackles, whether it's disrupting plays in coverage. He just is around the ball. So if you have a pass rush like you do, you need playmakers on your back end. And JOK can play at your second level. He can play at your third level. I think he has versatility to play both. He probably weighs between somewhere in 220 and 240, to be honest, because you could probably either drop weight or add weight, and you could use him as a joker like Isaiah Simmons was talked about last year. Like, it really doesn't matter what you do with this guy. He has the versatility to do whatever you kind of want him to do. And I think, I'm not really sure how Ron Rivera's staff would use him. Maybe they use him similar to the way that they use someone like Shaq Thompson or something like that. You could probably deploy him that way. I think it's a good fit. So with the next pick, I'm going to go with Miami. There's a number of ways that you could go with this pick. I think I probably would have taken Jalen Phillips at 18. I'm going to take Jalen Phillips now, personally, because I know the Patriots, or like Brian Flores coming from the Patriots system, they don't really prioritize defensive line. They're more so they build their defenses back to front. They got the corners, Jones and Howard and Igbenogany on the back end. And they like to build their defense that way. But Jalen Phillips, in my opinion, and it sounds like by the NFL's opinion, is the best edge rusher in this class by most teams' evaluations. And I think as the best edge rusher in this class, it's a premier position. He's going to go a little higher than people are anticipating.
For reference, he's like top 10 overall player in this class in terms of talent. The thing with him is the medical redshirt that he had kind of got kicked off the team because of that. The medical concerns, he wasn't allowed to play football, ended up transferring, dominated at Miami. I think when it's all said and done from pure film, from a pure trait perspective, Jalen Phillips is honestly in a tier of his own, in my opinion. From what I have seen, Jalen Phillips has just absolutely dominated this year. Yes, for those wondering at home, saying, "Oh, what about Greg Rousseau? Blah blah blah, Miami." No. Jalen Phillips is literally like 6 tiers above what.
Apparently, Rousseau is going to the first round, according to Drew Rosenhaus.
Interesting. So
that came out today. So it doesn't shock me. I definitely see why he would go in the first round. I think I'm going to fit him in here at the end of this draft because I think I have like 7 picks in a row right now, controlling the AFC teams.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Tevin Jenkins with the Indianapolis Colts. They need an offensive lineman in general. They need to replace Anthony Costanzo. I heard some rumblings that they were going to try and move Quentin Nelson to left tackle. Just leave him where he is. He's the best guard in the league. So Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle from Oklahoma State, will put him at left tackle to replace Anthony Costanzo. He's going to have a very easy transition playing next to Quentin Nelson at the pro level. And then with the Tennessee Titans, there's a number of directions I want to go. I seriously think this
Where
is
you
what
think
I
they
would
go?
do. This is where what I would do meets with what I think they're going to do. And I'm going to take Elijah Moore, wide receiver from Ole Miss,
I
because
like it.
I don't think they need an edge anymore because they signed Bud Dupree. They have a guy that's kind of proven that he's able to produce in the NFL. And to be honest, this edge rusher class isn't good enough to reach on an Azeez Ojulari or someone like that. I'm going to take Elijah Moore because I need a second receiver. I lost my number 2 and number 3 targets in my offense when Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith signed elsewhere. So you need to, it can't just be the A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry show. You need some other options. And I think Elijah Moore fits exactly what you would want him to do, which is be a great shifty slot guy to complement your yak monster and A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, Elijah Moore is a freak. And he's both of our wide receiver 5s. I actually have a late first on him. I assume you have the same. Yeah, he's very much worthy of this pick for those of you at home and be like, Elijah Moore, 22. What? I've never seen that in every ESPN mock I've ever watched. No.
Elijah Moore is that Kadarius Toney, I'll tell you that.
Yes. With that being said, though, you're back on the clock here for another bunch of picks. But what are you thinking here with the Jets?
Go corner for a second.
There's one guy in particular that screams to me.
See,
there's one guy.
There's one pick that I want to make here that I'm going to make. Go to running back and give me Travis Etienne.
Wow. Okay.
This is a predictive mock draft. Maybe you guys think I'm a jackass for saying that this is probably going to happen. I seriously think Travis Etienne is going to go before Najee Harris in the NFL draft. I think the NFL, from everything that I've seen from people who are actually connected to the league, say that most people have Travis Etienne as the number 1 running back in this class. And while fantasy Twitter and everyone else agrees that it's Najee Harris, and I definitely could see why they would think that, I think it's Travis Etienne. I think the NFL thinks it's Travis Etienne. And the New York Jets is one of the most ideal scheme fits for his skill set. So I think it's a perfect fit. And
wide zone, baby.
Running back at 23, but there's a significant drop off in this class after the top 3 running backs. And you're not getting Javonte Williams even at your next pick, to be honest. I think all 3 of those guys are going to be gone before your next pick.
Yeah, no, I agree. Speaking of running backs going, with that being said, you're at 24 here. What are you thinking?
Yeah, and then another running back's going. Honestly, this is not what I would do, but I think the Steelers are going to take Najee Harris. They have needs at corner. They have needs at offensive tackle. Their offensive line is aging, and I believe they ranked like 32nd in the league in like yards created on their running plays by their offensive line. So they need offensive linemen. But again, this is a running back class that drops off and very quickly. So if you need a running back, which you absolutely do, you have Benny Snell slated to be your starter.
Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland as your backfield right now.
Yeah, exactly. Najee Harris is a perfect fit for what you do. He is very much similar to the guy that you had before in Le'Veon Bell. You know how to use a guy like that. Mike Tomlin will know how to use him. So you can find offensive line upgrades hopefully later in the draft because it is a deeper class than it is at running back. But I just think this is what's going to happen. I think they're going to take Najee Harris.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. With that being said, you're back on the clock here again for the next 3 as well. So what do you think?
Yeah. Give me go offensive line for a sec. I have a feeling I know what pick I'm going to go with, but I just want to see who's available.
OT?
No, I'm going to go with Trevon Mooring, safety from TCU. I just wanted to see who was available there.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think this is a guy that is clearly I'd imagine if you pulled every NFL team in the league right now, they'd probably say that this guy's safety 1 in the class. Yeah. The Jags were just bad in general on their back end last year. They have some young corners that they're developing. They signed Shaquille Griffin, as well. So you need some kind of range on your back end because you lost a guy in Ronnie Harrison who actually had a pretty good season for Cleveland last year. I believe they cut him before the season or something like that. So you get a guy to replace him. Trevon Mooring has a lot of versatility. He's very rangy. He can play that center field role for you and help develop some of your back end guys. And I've seen with my own team, having a young secondary isn't the worst thing in the world. You can win a Super Bowl with it. So Trevon Mooring is a great fit. I think he's probably going to be a Jaguar, whether it's at 33 or it's at 25. I seriously think that's where he's going to go.
Yeah, my dream of Trevon Merrick being a Dallas Cowboy is just never going to happen because, quite frankly, you're not going to take him at 10 and he's not going to make it to 44. I agree. He is the best safety in this class, in my opinion. And you're talking about guys that can play single high in this class. Merrick is number 1. The guy we're going to get into in the second round, I'm assuming, is going to be number 2. I'm not going to spoil it right now, but you're mentioning Trevon Merrick. You got that young secondary. You drafted C.J. Henderson last year. You just signed Shaquille Griffin in free agency. You have Trey Herndon occupying your slot, Sidney Jones being your 4. You're pretty much set from a cornerback perspective. The problem that they have is that safety right now, they're currently employing Rayshawn Jenkins and Jared Wilson, I believe. Yeah, Jared Wilson. You get a guy with Merrick's full over-the-top range type potential that he's shown in college that he can show he can be in the NFL to pair up with that secondary, you could end up having yourself as a top 5 to 10 secondary in the league within the next 2 years. I honestly think that adding Trayvon Merrick would do that for your defense. So getting him at 25, I think, is a steal. That being said, let's go on. Next pick. We got the Cleveland Browns on the clock here. And
easy
what do you
pick
think?
for me. It's give me Christian Barmore. Christian Barmore is a guy that has a little bit of question marks around him. I know for my own team, because we're a big target for Christian Barmore. I've heard that he doesn't have the greatest work ethic. He doesn't have the greatest football intelligence and commitment to the game kind of things. But I don't really know anything about the kid, so I'm not going to make too many judgments. All I've heard is that this guy's going in the first round. He's clearly the best IDL according to NFL teams. So to me, this is probably a ceiling of where he gets drafted. I don't think he gets drafted any higher than this, but
I've heard rumblings
that a lot of sense.
I've heard rumblings that teams in the top 15 to 20 like are considering.
Oh, what are the odds that freaking Oakland or Las Vegas reaches on him or something like that?
Dude,
they're classic.
Dude, this could sound crazy. I've heard some rumblings about potentially Philly at 12. I would laugh. I would laugh
too. But Christian Barmore, he does bring some things to the table, right? He's
amazing.
Absolutely performed down the stretch in the playoffs for Alabama. He showed his explosiveness, his first step quickness. He played really well, but the problem is all the things that I just mentioned. So
yeah,
Christian Barmore playing in between Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett on your IDL. You just released Sheldon Richardson over the although there is some rumblings that they're trying to bring him back somehow. But either way, you get a guy that can penetrate inside when you have those freaky edge rushers that you have on the outside. So speaking of edge rushers, let's get to the next team.
I'll quickly say one thing about Barmore. If you're plugging him into Cleveland, the reason why I also think it's a fit, you currently have, again, Malik Jackson, Andrew Billings, Jordan Elliott. For Elliott or actually not Elliott, but you got this is your depth chart currently. Billings, Jackson, Elliott, and Sheldon Day. For specifically pass rush reasons, the only ones that can give you a true rush would be Malik Jackson and maybe Jordan Elliott, who's a 4th-round pick last year. You get a guy in Christian Barmore who, at minimum, year one, can be your third defensive tackle, rotate on third down, and give you that pass rush element that you're truly lacking from the interior. You got Garrett on the outside. You got who they signed, Jadeveon Clowney on the outside. Now let's get a guy who can penetrate up through the middle. I think Barmore on potentially limited snaps year one can absolutely fill that pass rushing specialist role you need from your interior. So I do think it's a good fit here in terms of schematics. That being said, sorry to cut you off. Go back. Baltimore Ravens here at 27. What are you thinking?
Okay, so my gut tells me to go Kwity Paye because I think he's the best edge rusher on the board. One thing I do want to say, though, is that Xavier Collins weighed in at 270 at his Indianapolis thing. So there might be teams out there that are looking at him as an outside linebacker edge rusher type. And that might be Baltimore because they run that type of scheme and he'd be a good fit for their defense. But I'm going to go with Kwity Paye because I think he can bring you a lot of what you need. Basically, you have a lot of unproven edge rushers on your team right now with Tyus Bowser and a number of other guys, Jalen Ferguson on your roster. You lost Yannick Ngakoue and Matt Judon, who were your two starting edge rushers last year. You need to replace at least one of them and hope that some of your young guys can develop into a second edge rusher.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're talking about Kwity Paye, obviously from my Michigan, you got a guy who day one can be one of the best run stuffing edge rushers in the entire league. I honestly think in terms of bend, in terms of attacking downhill, in terms of just making plays in the backfield, being a menace, he can do that day one. The thing that's going to stop him really from being a true elite edge rusher right now is that he doesn't have a refined pass rush package. He doesn't have a bunch of moves to his arsenal. He kind of just relies on his bend, relies on his natural gifts right now. And while he still produced to a degree, you want to see that production get up there as he learns to use his hands, as he learns to use his nuanced movements on the line. You get a guy in Kwity Paye who Baltimore's system for developing edge rushers is easily one of the best in the NFL. We've seen it multiple times year in, year out. They'll bring in guys, Matthew Judon, heck, Jalen Ferguson, who's like a C+ type of athlete, was producing for them. You get a guy in Kwity Paye who is literally an A athlete at the position. You lean him with that coaching staff. I think you can be seeing a consistent 8 to 10 type sack guy while also giving you some of the best run stuffing edge play in the league. I think that'd be a really good fit for them at 27. Sorry, I had to talk about my Michigan guy. Now we're back on the clock here at 28 with the Saints. You run to the podium. If Greg Newsome makes it to you, if you're the Saints, you run to the podium. You got issues with Marshawn Lattimore right now. You don't know what's going on with him. And after him, you lost Janoris Jenkins. You don't
have to pay Lattimore regardless of even if his issue clear up soon. He's up for his contract after this season. So you're gonna have to pay the guy like probably top of the line corner money.
Guess who's their slated number 2 cornerback right now to start opposite of Lattimore?
TJ Williams or something?
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Oh, jeez.
He's slated as their number 2 corner. That's a guy you want playing in the slot, but if you want him on the outside, good luck with that. He's not going to be playing outside for you. You get Greg Newsome, you move Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to your nickel, and you run with those 3 safeties of Williams, Jenkins, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. Greg Newsome, to me, is by far the 4th cornerback in this class. Talk about movement hills. Talk about oily hips. This is what this guy gives you. There was a play, I think Eric Crocker posted, where quite literally the receiver beat him outside so bad. Like his hips were fully turned inside off of the receiver's release. He switched his hips within like 0.3 of a second and stayed in phase with the receiver throughout the route, despite getting initially like absolutely toasted off the line. And there are people arguing like, oh, well, I can't believe he got beaten that bad off the line. Like that's a bad play for him. What that shows me, I want my cornerbacks when it looks bad, when it looks beat, when it looks like they can't catch up, to be able to like see what they do, see how they adjust, see how they get back in phase. And for a guy of Newsome or with Newsome to be able to absolutely flip his hips on a dime and still stay in phase in time to make a play on the ball, I was amazed. So with that being said, 4th cornerback, I think that would be a home run pick for the Saints. And I know you wouldn't like that. But that being said, we're going to go back to the Packers here. And I think it might be cornerback. I don't know. Do you think they listened
when everyone said they should have taken a receiver last year? I feel like they might just give in and take a receiver just because everyone wants them to.
It could be OT too, though.
I don't know. I don't see an offensive tackle that's screaming at me. Like I suppose you could take Cosme or Eichenberg and be like, yeah, that's like relative value. But I seriously think they're gonna cave in and take a receiver. I don't know why.
What receiver is worth it?
Marshall is who I'm thinking they would take.
All right, fuck it. If you think it would be, I'll just go with your word because I think they can go any number of directions.
Yeah, I think they could too, but I just feel like they heard so much criticism last year that they're going to start to believe it a little bit. They're going to be like, oh, maybe we should have taken a receiver instead of a 247-pound running back in the 2nd round.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Terrace Marshall here, good compliment to what you're getting with Devontae Adams. I do think that he can offer that downfield type of ability that you're sorely lacking right now. Consistently, like you got Lazard, you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and who's the other one that they have?
Equanimeous St. Brown.
Yeah, those guys show up in spurts, and when those guys play well, the offense is just that much better. The problem is those guys are so inconsistent. If you can get Terrace Marshall to fully fill that role as a consistent number 2 weapon on that offense is going to be nearly unstoppable because Aaron Rodgers playing top of his game last year, and Devontae Adams is the best wide receiver in the NFL. So that being said, 30th overall. I think I know where you're going, but what are you thinking?
I'm going to go edge rusher here.
Yeah,
and I'm going to take Azeez Ojulari.
Yeah, that's what
I think he's the best edge rusher on the board by quite a decent margin. And I think what the Bills need is they just kind of need, like their defense just fell off last year. We all thought the defense was going to be the strength of the team going into the year. Didn't turn out that way. The offense ended up carrying that team, but I think they can get back to their kind of defensive roots once they get their secondary playing a little bit better than it did last year. Tre'Davious White didn't have the greatest season, nor did either of the safeties. But I think if you get some better pressure up front, which I think was the root of the problem, like their edge rush and pass rush front 7 wasn't doing its job. So if you get Azeez Ojulari, you could probably patch up your secondary as a result of that. So corner is to me less of a need than edge rusher is for the Bills, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely. Currently, you got slotted as Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison as their 2 edge rushers. You get a guy named Azeez Ojulari who can end up developing into that
if nothing else,
primary alpha. Yeah, and if anything too, he could be your 3rd edge rusher right away because Epineza on one side, but F.A. Obata is their slated backup on the other side. Like that's F.A. Obata. I remember he was trying out for the Cowboys and he never played football when that happened. So I didn't even know he was a Bill, to be honest. But with that being said, Chiefs on the clock here. I have a feeling I know where you're going.
Yeah, give me the ready-made offensive tackle. Don't give me Cosme. Give me Eichenberg because I think Eichenberg is better to step foot right away and play a big role in the NFL. And I seriously think they're going to make a move before the season starts and get one offensive tackle. Maybe it's Ronnie Stanley from the Chiefs to play left tackle for them or something like that. I think they're only going to need one offensive lineman in the draft, like one offensive tackle, that is, because I think they're going to make a move for another one. So I'll go with Eichenberg, whether he plays left or right side. I think he could step in right away and fill a need that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely exposed in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I fully agree. And speaking of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Super Bowl champions, had to give you that little nod. I'll give you 3 guys and let you choose which one you want. Just because. All right. So Jason Awe, Sam Cosmi, or Peyton Turner?
I'm going to go with none of the above.
Really? You
the
don't want
person I
either?
would take is Zaven Collins.
Zaven Collins? Okay. I'm down with it.
So like I said, he weighed in at 270. This is a guy that I plan to play as a third down pass rush specialist at the beginning. And because they move JPP into the inside on third down usually. So you can put Collins on the outside, replacing Anthony Nelson as the third edge rusher opposite of Shaq Barrett. I seriously think Zaven Collins has that kind of versatility. I don't think people talk about it enough. With the size that this guy has, man, like he can play edge rusher. He can play on the outside. And hell, if he doesn't want to play edge rusher, put Devin White on the outside and play Zaven Collins in the end. Like you can, with those 3 linebackers, you can do so much. And Todd Bowles is very creative. It's not like I'm putting him to a defensive coordinator that doesn't know what they're doing. Todd Bowles would know how to use this guy. And I think that pick and the way that the Bucs pick is going to work in general is best player available. You don't have many needs on this team. So to pick the best player available, whether Zaven Collins plays inside, outside linebacker, what the hell, like it doesn't even matter because you can use this guy in a variety of ways. Yeah,
no, I definitely agree. I was thinking of it and then I'm like, yeah, you know what? I should have said that name, but regardless, we're back on the clock here with the Jacksonville Jaguars and sure pick. I had to let you pick the Bucs. I couldn't hold it from you.
Go wide receiver for a second. I want to see what the wide receiver's looking like.
Okay. You don't want Tony?
I don't really like the way that the wide receivers are stacking up for them because I'd like to give them like a Kadarius Toney or Rondell Moore or something like that, but I think the type of receiver that those guys are, you already have with Laviska Shenault. So I don't like unless there was like a big ball. Like I'd actually rather have given them Terrace Marshall, but he's off the board, obviously. So go to offensive tackle real quick.
There's one guy that's screaming at me.
Yeah, just give him Sam Cosmi. I think he can help. He can help your offensive line regardless. Wherever you play him, you need help on your offensive line. You got to help protect your young quarterback. You already got decent receivers and a pretty solid running back already. So it's not like you're desperate for weapons right now. Like if Trevor Lawrence goes into the season with what he currently has, it's not going to kill the guy. Plus, this is a deeper receiver class. You can get another guy in the 3rd or 4th round that can help fill a role for you, whether it's a deep threat or a slot guy or a big body guy. If you wanted to take like a Nico Collins in the 4th round or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. With that being said, you're back on the clock here with the Jets. What are you thinking? You got your running back, you got your quarterback.
Give me a corner. I think they need a corner pretty bad. Actually, you know what? No, go wide receiver.
Yep.
Give him Rondell Moore.
I know where you're going. Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah, Rondell Moore is the type of receiver that their coaching staff should know how to use in theory, right? Because they were
he's your Debo.
Yeah, he can be your Debo. He can be your Ayuk, whatever you want to use him in that kind of role. I think the Jets are a great landing spot for him. So, I think Rondell Moore probably goes around this range in the actual NFL draft too. So that seems pretty realistic to me.
I agree. Now we got the Atlanta Falcons on the clock here, and they need defense bad. I understand that, but we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons here. They got their tight end. Now let's just get their running back. And if Javonte Williams is on the board here, I just don't think they pass on Javonte Williams. So I'll slate him here at 35, and I don't think they think twice about it, honestly.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it kind of sucks for the Jets because I mentioned, I was like, when I took ETN, I was like, I don't think Javonte Williams is going to be there with their next pick. He was there, unfortunately, but I think regardless, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, top 35, that sounds about right for the top 3 running backs to me. I think all of them are going to be gone by the top 35 before he picks. Because if Javonte Williams didn't go to you at Atlanta at 35, he would have gone here with the Miami Dolphins at 36. And I think they're going to be desperate for a running back, man. I almost want to take Chuba Hubbard here. I think that'd be like a really big surprise, but I seriously think they're going to be desperate for a running back. I don't think I'm going to do it. Go to a linebacker real quick because it's a guy I think I'm going to take. Yeah, I'm going to take
Jamin Davis.
Yeah, because I think Jamin Davis is just an absolute freak athlete that the Patriots type of defense would love to use. Because he can do a variety of things for them. But I seriously do think there's a chance they could reach on a running back with either this pick or their next pick at pick 40, which I'm probably going to do.
Yeah. So with that being said, I got the Eagles here. What I think they'll do I've mentioned it a lot of times, but I think the NFL is going to be a lot higher on Kadarius Toney than we are as fantasy people because we understand the actual profile of the situation.
Mhm.
And wouldn't Kadarius Toney just be such an Eagles pick? Like,
Yeah, I can see that.
like a guy who didn't prove it until his last year of college. He's kind of that slimmer frame, shiftier type of guy. I mean, like you just get another fucking version of Jalen Reagor and just put him in the slot, I guess. I don't know. Fuck, whatever. Not much analysis here. Kadarius Toney. I just feel like they're going to be at a desperate point, leaning for a wide receiver, knowing that they don't pick until what is it like? It'd be 81, 82 or something like that. I think it has to be a pick. I think they have to fill that position. The only other consideration I would have had here would be a linebacker, probably like a Baron Browning, Nick Bolton type. But I think that they would be fine with like a Cox, Werner, Surratt at their next pick in this scenario. So they'll just grab the receiver, they'll grab Kadarius Toney and not really think too hard about it.
Yeah, and I can already see the Eagles tweets like 2 years from now being like, imagine taking Kadarius Toney over like
De'Ami Brown
that was like way better after Kadarius Toney, like Tamorian Terry or something like that.
De'Ami Brown.
Yeah, De'Ami Brown or Amon-Ra St. Brown or something like that. So speaking of wide receivers, Cincinnati Bengals took Jamar Chase in the first round. Now, as I mentioned, they need to address their offensive line position. I think see, you have the versatility to allow a guy to develop a year because you have Riley Reif and Jonah Williams. So I'm going to take Dylan Radins because I think Leatherwood could step in right away and play a bigger role for you early. But you have Riley Reif for 1 year. So we'll take Radins and hope he can develop into our long-term right or left tackle, depending on what we think of Jonah Williams.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I mean, Radins is out of the guys left, probably the highest potential at the position because he's got the requisite athleticism. He is an absolutely elite athlete at the tackle position. So getting him here,
great length though, too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's like 6'7" with like 35-inch arms, I believe. You love to see it. With that being said, here you're the Carolina Panthers on the clock here. So your current cornerbacks, you have Dante Jackson, AJ Bouye. You could use a slot. You have AJ Bouye who's kind of injured, so you could go cornerback. Let's just see a tight end real quick. They're starting tight end slated to be Dan Arnold. I just don't think they enter the season with that. Why do I feel like Hunter Long might be a pick here?
I don't think the NFL Hunter Long is my tight end too, but there's no way in hell that the NFL has anybody other than Pat Freiermuth as their tight end too, in my opinion.
Okay. Like, do you think they would go with tight end here? Like, I
don't know. I think they would wait. I think they would wait personally because I think Eric Stokes is a tier break at corner. That's why I would pick Eric Stokes.
I actually like Kelvin Joseph better than him, but I'm fine with going Eric Stokes here because let's be honest here. I mentioned Dante Jackson. You got AJ Bouye, who I believe is suspended for like 4 games now. I believe he's suspended something like that. You need a number 2 corner because, quite frankly, even after those guys, Rashawn Melvin, Miles Hartfield,
I think Jackson's free agent after this year too.
Yeah, so we'll go Stokes for viewers' sake and just fill that need because it's a huge one for that team. That being said, another pick for the Miami Dolphins. You just basically own half the draft, I guess. What are you leaning here?
I'm taking a running back.
Yeah, taking Chuba.
Let me see the running backs right now. Who do they have on their roster currently other than Myles Gaskin? Do they have any thumpers or anything like that?
They have Salvin Ahmed. I know that. They signed Matt Breida, I believe. Wait, no, they had Matt Breida. Breida signed with the Bills. My bad. Malcolm Brown they signed.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Because this is not what I would do right now. The best running back on the board, in my opinion, is Michael Carter from North Carolina. But I think what the NFL is going to value and what the Miami Dolphins are going to value, to have a shiftier guy with Myles Gaskin, I think they're going to take Trey Sermon if they were to take a running back here. I think Trey Sermon has a chance to be the 4th running back off the board based on the way he closed out his season and the way he came in with good measurables, right? Like people are calling him Kareem Hunt and Josh Jacobs all the time. There's no way that you can look at this guy's film and think he's that good as a Kareem Hunt or a Josh Jacobs. But he does have the 215-pound size that you look for. He has pretty decent speed for a guy of his size. I didn't think he was going to run that fast. And he's also posted some pretty decent elusiveness metrics and stuff like that. So he's a guy that I think the NFL is going to be higher on than I am. He's like my running back 9 or my running back 8 or something like that. But I think he's going to go pretty high in the draft compared to what some people think.
It's fun. I like it. I mean, heck, there's always curveballs in the draft. I can just picture fantasy Twitter talking about Trey Sermon, top 40 pick? What? Just being all confused.
Oh, yeah. Like the Lions taking DeAndre Swift last year was a big-time curveball. Like, people kind of expected them to address running back, but not with Swift.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's just it's crazy to think about all these surprises that happen on a yearly basis in the NFL. That being said, I'm looking at the Lions depth chart right now, and their cornerback core is awful. Like, they have Okudah. Quentin Dunbar's a good nickel, but aside from that, I mean, Amani Oruwariye kind of hasn't proven anything. Corn Elder, Mike Ford, like, you don't have much here. And I'm looking at Kelvin Joseph. You got him in blue at Kentucky in college. Let's just get him back in blue. Let's get him as a Detroit Lion here. I think that would be a really good fit for this team. Slate him in as your number 2 cornerback. He's got the athletic traits. He's got the film to back it up. And I think he's honestly well worth a top 40 pick. So getting him here at 41, I think is a really good value on him. I think he's a stud.
Yep. And we're going to try and motor through these because we're closing on an hour now. So what do you got with the New York Giants?
Giants, check receivers. There's not really anybody I think they would prioritize here. Let me I feel like Joe Judge is going to value the athleticism of Jason Alway. I don't know. So fuck it. Let's give him Jason Alway. I mean, you mentioned traits. This is the traitsiest edge rusher in, like, after the initial couple in the draft. I mean, you mentioned the requisite athleticism I've been mentioning multiple times all day. This is the freakiest athlete maybe we've ever seen at edge rusher. I mean,
he had 0 sacks last year, though. So, like, we're talking about purely a projection because this dude had literally no production to back it up, really, because he was pretty much just a freak athlete on the field. Probably needs a lot of coaching in terms, like, the reason he probably wasn't able to get to the quarterback had nothing to do with his athletic ability. It probably had everything to do with his hand technique and anything else that goes into playing the edge rush position. So he's probably going to need some time to develop. He's probably going to need a lot of coaching in that area, and hopefully he can get it in New York because I think they need edge rush help however they can get it right now.
Yeah, definitely. So you take the chance on a guy with that athletic ability because let's be honest, if he had any type of production, he'd be like a locked and loaded top 25 pick. So getting him here hypothetically at that second round would be good value in a guy with that type of potential. Anyways, let's try to stay on track here. The 49ers here, they also need an edge. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. They
got the best interior guys on the board still, though, on the offensive line.
Yeah, they could go with one of those guys. They could go with a Wyatt Davis. I think that makes sense because I think these two guys are going to play center for you in the NFL. They do have Alex Mack right now, but you could take a Wyatt Davis, plug him in at right guard to replace Daniel Brunskill, and be fine there. So with that being said, I will take Wyatt Davis. Now we got the Dallas Cowboys on the clock. So my team. There's a couple ways you can go. I love Peyton Turner. I think that'd be a really good value for him. He's an absolute freak. You could go IDL with one of these guys, but man, if Richie Grant is on the board, he's just going to be my pick. You get a guy who can play single high in Dan Quinn's defense. He's got the range. He's got the mobility to create absolute, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, what people don't understand is having that back end coverage from a true rangy free safety does so much for your defense. And for Dallas, who has really lacked that type of playmaker in the back end for so many years, finally filling that role with Richie Grant, who in my opinion is the safety 2 in this class, would be a slam dunk. Anyways, I'm not going to ramble on too much about my team. Go on with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, give me a wide receiver. I actually thought of a guy that is going to be a good fit for them. Give me a Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I like it.
Yeah, so I think you have your deep threat, you have your do-it-all wingback with Shenault, and you have your deep threat, obviously, with DJ Chark. So you need a guy that can run routes and get open, which is the basic job of a receiver, and that's what Amon-Ra St. Brown can give you. He can either play in the slot for you, you can play on the outside for you. He's not limited. I know some people just look at him as like a pure slot. He isn't limited. He can play on the outside. He just is better in the slot. So it doesn't really matter how you use this guy. The next team we have here is the New England Patriots. I took Rashad Bateman in the first round, probably to the surprise of a lot of people. Baron Browning's interesting and Nick Bolton's interesting, but I've heard rumblings of this. I've heard that they like this guy. Patriots fans are going to hate me, but I'm going to take Kellen Mond in the second round.
Because, I was thinking of it, but yeah.
Yeah, Davis Mills and Kellen Mond is it's a conversation. Maybe if you think they like Davis Mills more, they would take Davis Mills. But I think these two dudes are going on day 2. Mond and Davis Mills. It's a supply and demand thing, right? Like,
yeah,
there's teams that need quarterbacks in the NFL.
Economics.
There's not enough quarterbacks to go around. So, I mean, the Patriots, the Bears, the Washington football team, whoever it is going to talk themselves into some of these day 2 quarterbacks, whether they can develop them or not. And I think Kellen Mond is the first of the day 2 quarterbacks to go off the board. And I think the Patriots have shown interest in him already. And some people have even talked about him as a possibility at 15. So I think Kellen Mond makes a lot of sense to the Patriots in the second round.
Yeah, I agree. And with that being said, you're back on the clock here with the Chargers. What do you think?
Yeah, give me the tackles here. They got to get something here. Yeah, give him Leatherwood. Honestly, you need a left tackle that can step in and play. Leatherwood, she got lucky, honestly, because there's Mayfield maybe is the next best guy on the board, but you got lucky. The fact that you kind of foregoed the tackle position for who did I even take in the first round? Caleb Farley, who was a better player at that position earlier in the draft. So you got your left tackle. He can play. He's more of like a Cam Robinson, Donovan Smith, DJ Humphreys level of ceiling for a left tackle. Like he's not going to be the best left tackle in the league someday.
To be fair, I mean, he was up and down in college because he had games where he was an absolute beast and he had games where he was struggling. He's got the traits to really be good in the NFL. The problem is he's a little inconsistent, but taking a chance on a guy with the high levels of film at times that he showed at 47, I think would be an absolute steal. If this guy pans out and you have Justin Herbert, like he's keeping guys off him. He's going to be that bodyguard. He's going to be that, you're not getting past me type of guy on the exterior. Yeah. Alex Leatherwood, I think, is a tier break at tackle. Actually, Jalen Mayfield's here as well. I think he's a stud as well. But those two guys, Mayfield's more of a right side, Leatherwood's the left side. They're going to need a long-term left tackle. They have Brian Bulaga. You have Trey Pipkins slated as your left. Plug in Leatherwood at that left as that developmental guy and let him learn even for a year behind Pipkins and end up taking that role. So I think that's a slam dunk, and I think you nailed that.
Yeah. So the Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock here. I'm going to just make this one simple. They have needed a linebacker for like 30 years, and Baron Browning's still on the board, so I'm going to take Baron Browning.
I like it. Definitely. He's got the speed. He's got the athleticism. And we all know Oakland loves freak athletes at the position, so they do fill that very well. And I'm the Cardinals here. What cornerbacks are available? You can look at Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Asante Samuel Jr. making it to 49 would be an absolute steal. I view this guy. The only problem with him is the size. He's only 5'10". He's only $180. But guess what? You're mentioning guys around the NFL, Jair Alexander type. I feel like Asante Samuel has that type of prototype build where he's a shorter type corner. But guess what? You're looking for a guy who can be absolutely sticky, absolutely smothering in man coverage. Asante Samuel's got that mentality to be that guy. Getting him here at 49 if you're the Cardinals after missing a cornerback in the first round, I think would be a slam dunk. You're back on the clock here. Guess what? A team that we've rung multiple times in this draft already. Miami Dolphins. What are you thinking?
Yeah, and I'm just crossing off the needs left and right. What do they got for safeties on the board right now? I'm going to defer to you because I don't know a lot about the safety class outside of Trevon Merrick. So
I like
your team needs a safety, so you probably know about the safeties a little bit more than I do. Who do you think fits the Dolphins and what they need? Because they have their tight end eraser with Eric Rowe. They don't really need a coverage type of safety. I think they probably need more of a rangy safety, right?
Yeah. See, the thing is, there's not too many true rangy safeties left apart from maybe Jamar Johnson, but his tackling just woefully insufficient at this point to even put him above the other guys, in my opinion. The two that I would look at here mostly for a team like Miami would be Holland and Washington. But Washington's 5'8", and I think the NFL might kind of sour from taking him in the top 50. So I think Holland would probably be the best fit for them. Again, he's more of that box safety type, but I do think he's got the requisite athleticism, the requisite IQ to play over the top if needed. So if you draft him, I think he can be a free safety for you. So that would probably be my top guy, would be Javon Holland. So okay. I'll slate him in here.
Roll with that.
Now we're back on the clock here with the Washington football team. Sorry. And we have about 14 picks left. So we'll try to get this video about an hour and 15 for y'all at home. We're about an hour.
We'll throw some timestamps in the description. If you guys, we'll timestamp the first and second round at the bare minimum so that you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. Although we would appreciate you watch the whole thing. It helps us out.
Definitely.
YouTube wise.
So let me just check their offensive line. So they actually got they need a left tackle and Mayfield's a right. So that could be, they have Morgan Moses. I don't think they would take a right. I'm kind of at a spot here. Like, what would they want? Maybe a receiver. Davis yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's go with Mills.
I think Davis Mills is going to go off the board fast, man. I don't know what it is about him. Every time they talk about him on NFL Network or whatever, ESPN or whatever, it sounds like this guy's a locked and loaded, like top 60 pick, like the way that they talk about this guy. So he has very minimal starting experience. He's kind of like Mac Jones light, to be honest. the way that he's kind of his profile kind of works out. But he was good in his starting experience. I think it would have benefited him, obviously, to get in a situation, maybe transfer away from Stanford or get to a situation where he was able to play sooner, because this was a very highly decorated high school recruit. And he had a chance to start at other school, or he would have had a chance to start in other places, but he just was locked behind people on other depth charts. So, yeah, I think he makes a lot of sense. And Jalen Mayfield, to me, is just an easy pick.
I'm taking him. They're slated starting right tackle right now is Jermaine Ifedi. So, yeah,
exactly. Jermaine Ifedi stinks. So, we'll make that one easy. Can you go to the cornerback position? Because I think they need a nickel, do they not?
Yep, believe so. I can check their cornerback depth chart right now. Actually, I think they need a number 2 as well. Titans, let me just check. So they currently have Fulton Jenkins and Kevin Johnson as their top 3 cornerbacks. So they could really use like a number
Kevin
1
Johnson
and number 2
play on the outside. I think I'm going to go Molden because I think he's the best corner on the board. I think
him and Robinson
is got some upside as well. I know he's more of like a length corner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And they could use that kind of size on the outside. Fulton's like a good size corner, I guess, but he's not like the biggest guy in the world. You obviously cut Adoree Jackson for some inexplicable reason. So you'd need corner in the second round, I would say. And Molden can, at the very least, be your starting nickel now that I believe Desmond King is no longer on that team, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah. I agree. And with that being said, you're back on the clock here with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, and I don't think the corners are very great on the board right now. Like I think
probably these two,
but I think there's some receivers still on the board, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. There's one in particular.
Yeah, and do I want to do what I would do kind of thing? No, you know what? There's a guy, you don't really have a lot of deep threat type of speed on your team, so give him De'Ami Brown, because De'Ami Brown can basically do what T.Y. Hilton does, except at 10 years younger than T.Y. Hilton. So if you have T.Y. Hilton on a 1-year deal, maybe De'Ami Brown doesn't have to play right away, but hopefully some of your other younger receivers, Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman, can develop, and then De'Ami Brown is able to step in and be a deep threat for you next year. The ideal situation would be that Michael Pittman develops into your number 1, and then Paris Campbell develops into a do-it-all weapon, and then you just have De'Ami Brown as all he's asked to do is be a number 3 deep threat receiver in his second season.
Yep, fully agree. So you're back on the clock here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we took the running back in the first round, but their current slated starter at center is BJ.
Yeah, this is an easy pick. They give him Landon Dickerson easily.
Yeah.
Because they had Pouncey retire. It's very easy swap out for Landon Dickerson, who would probably shouldn't even be on the board right now, and definitely wouldn't have been had he not torn his ACL.
Yeah, 100%. So with that being said, I'm on the clock here with the Seattle Seahawks, and I know he's slated at 26 here. I wouldn't rank him that high, but I feel like the NFL will have Joe Tryon as a top.
He's a guy that the Bucs are reportedly high on too.
Yeah. And I think if you're Seattle here, you're looking at the athleticism. Now, I personally would go Basham or Turner personally, but I think the NFL would go with Tryon. So I will.
I mean, the Seahawks in reality would probably draft a day 3 edge rusher in this spot.
Yeah, let me just see. They probably draft like Hamilcar Rashad or something like that.
Yeah, actually, no, they're good in the second round. It's the first round that they draft day 3 players.
That's fair. So with that being said, I am back on the clock here with the Los Angeles Rams, and if you guys check their offensive tackle position, I mean, they're slate. Yeah, they got. Is Andrew Whitworth still their starting left tackle? Oh my goodness! Like he could basically be my dad at honestly.
Yeah, he definitely could be both of our parents. Yeah.
Yeah. No, literally. Yeah, both of them at once. No, I'm kidding. With that being said, I will take Christensen or Brown.
I like Hudson's kind of a developmental guy. I know a lot of people kind of like him too. I don't really know much about the other guys. The only guy I really know about here is Christensen and Hudson.
I'll take Christensen just because I think he can play left for you. I do like Brown as well though. Carmen, I just don't see as a tackle. I think he's a guard, but
yeah. Okay, head on over to the wide receiver position. Let's see if we can get Lamar Jackson.
Nico Collins is a fucking Raven, bro.
Oh, that is so true. You know what? Actually, I think a guy that I actually like better for the Ravens is Amari Rodgers. I think that makes more sense to me.
That's
I think you get a more fun replacement for Willie Snead. You get a slot guy, and I think people who are talking themselves into Amari Rodgers being the next Deebo Samuel are way off. Personally, I watched Amari Rodgers yesterday, like all of his film, 5 games of his film. This dude's got pretty questionable hands, in my opinion, and he has not a lot in terms of contested catch ability either, which both kind of go into hands. And also, he doesn't really bring much as a deep threat or like any kind of deep areas of the field. So he's mostly a short of the line of scrimmage or close to the line of scrimmage type of weapon. He's basically Rondell Moore without the elite athleticism. Is the way I see him, but he has obviously bigger size than Rondell Moore. So he can give you a lot in the ways of versatility out of your backfield, right? You can use him as a running back. You can use him in the slot. He's a solid, sturdy body that can help you block for Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins too. So that's another added plus of Amari Rodgers, and I think he complements what you already have pretty well too.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that would be a good fit, getting that weapon in or around the line of scrimmage for Lamar Jackson. And let's be honest here. If you want to have fun, you want to line up in the backfield every now and then, maybe take some handoffs, he's got that versatility because quite frankly, like this guy's just a playmaker, can make people miss on a spot without even hesitation. So anyways, that being said, Browns on the clock here. What are you thinking?
Do I give him another Michigan wide receiver? Kind of want to do it.
You give him Nico?
No, I think DPJ showed enough, honestly, that you don't really need to add a third receiver because did they bring Higgins back?
No.
No, he's gone.
Where did Rashard Higgins go? I think he went to the Titans, no?
Either way, I think regardless, I don't think receiver's that big of a need for them because we haven't heard any Odell Beckham trade rumors in a long time. So
they did bring him back. Okay.
Yeah, so if you have Higgins and DPJ and Jarvis Landry and Odell, you're set for now. And I think DPJ has got enough upside, obviously, with his testing numbers that he showed last year around this time, that he can develop into a number 2 receiver if you need him to in the future if he continues to grow. So I'm not going to address the receiver position. I'll give him an edge rusher just because Jadeveon Clowney is on a 1-year deal. So I like Ronnie Perkins the best out of everyone left here. Okay. I'm going to take Ronnie Perkins, edge rusher from Oklahoma. I know he's a guy that, because of my team needing an edge rusher, I've done more work on the edge rushers than I have on the other positions. I think Ronnie Perkins gives you something that you're kind of lacking. And you took Barmore in the first round too. So Perkins is a guy that would be really like your 4th pass rushing option behind Barmore, Garrett, and Jadeveon Clowney, at least for this year.
Yep, I fully agree. So with that being said, I'm looking at the receivers here. There's nobody that you would really pound the table for. Like you could probably get somebody like, if you don't get a receiver here, you could probably even in the 3rd round get like, I don't know, Seth Williams, Amir Smith-Marset, Cade Johnson. So like you're not absolutely killing right now because let's be honest here, the Saints haven't really ever been a team that needed a true number 1 or true number 2 receiver because they have Alvin Kamara kind of filling that void. I'll give them an edge, and I've mentioned this guy's name multiple times, but Peyton Turner is the fastest rising edge rusher in this entire class. He's got the size. I believe he's 6'7", 265 pounds. He showed flashes on tape of just bullying people. And if you're the Saints here and you lost Trey Hendrickson in free agency, you got Davenport and Jordan as your starting edges. You can get Turner as that kind of rotational guy and end up maybe taking over for Davenport within a year or two. I think Peyton Turner is personally a fringe top 5 type edge rusher in this class. So getting him here at 60 if you're the Saints would be a slam dunk pick. Anyways, not going to ramble too long. That being said, who you taking here with the Bills?
Can you go to the corners?
Yep.
Give me Melifonwu. I think he has some upside. I like the things I've heard about him. I know some people are actually higher on him than others, and I think he has a relatively complete game for someone who played for Syracuse. He didn't play at like a huge school or anything like that. I think he's a developmental guy. I don't think he can play right away, but he's a guy that you can add some youth to your cornerback group, some depth that you don't really have as of right now. So I don't mind that pick. And then
I'm back on
the board right now.
See, you could go tackle, you could go like one of these guys, but I'm actually going to go corner here. It's between Campbell and Robinson for me. Because Campbell's got that size, athleticism that you look for in the position, I think Green Bay might value that opposite of Jair Alexander. Because let's be honest here, Kevin King is not moving, and who's the other one? Josh from Washington, or no, Josh from Iowa.
Josh
Jackson. They're not moving at all. Like I think they're both 4-5, 4-6 type corners. Tyson Campbell's a legitimate 4-3-5, 4-4 type guy. So getting him to develop behind Jair Alexander, I think would be their best fit.
Yeah, I don't mind that fit either. Can you go to wide receiver? Let's have some fun here. See, it says Nico Collins is the best available receiver, but what they're failing to acknowledge is that they're disrespecting the shit out of the better height, weight, speed receiver in this class. And give me Tamorrion Terry for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Really?
This might be a little bit of like, look how far they have this man down.
Look
at that. That's not a real person. There's no way that you can tell me that. So whoever ranked Tamori and Terry, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, they only watched his film this year. There's no way they could watch his film in 2019 and rank him this low. So give me Tamori and Terry, wide receiver from Florida State, to the Kansas City Chiefs, because I think he is the best receiver currently on the board by a pretty wide margin, in my opinion.
Well, I do like Nico and Eskridge, but yeah, I agree. He absolutely at least should be in this tier, not around like Walt Fillier and fucking Trevon Grimes, Jonathan Adams. Like, come on, TDN, do better.
So the interesting thing to me is that I could have gotten Gregory Rousseau with this pick, but I probably wouldn't have picked Zaven Collins in the first round, knowing that I could have gotten Gregory Rousseau in the second round. But let me show the interior O-line. I don't think wide receiver is our biggest need. I totally disagree with that. They're probably under the assumption that we're going to just play Chris Godwin this year and then let him walk in free agent. They're going to re-sign the guy. Like, he's not going anywhere. So,
do you take Miners or Creed and play them at right guard?
I will take. I'll take Creed Humphrey. I'll take Creed Humphrey. You got Ryan Jensen's a bit on the older side. Plus, you have Alex Cappa going to be a pending free agent after this year. You're going to need an interior guy at some point. So Creed Humphrey, he can work his way into your rotation. I mean, you don't really have a lot of needs. You have Aaron Stinney, who actually played in the Super Bowl and played pretty well as an undrafted free agent, filling in for Alex Cappa in the Super Bowl. So maybe you don't need an interior offensive lineman long term, but you don't really have any needs. And Creed Humphrey somewhat fits a need, and he's a pretty good player on the board at the time. So
yeah, and for reference, I do think that there's going to be more than 2 trades in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of trades.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Maybe we're just
the board just kind of fell down, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're Miami, you got Phillips in a third for Mac Jones. You're
only Miami is the one who's going to be trading. They're the only ones who traded in both situations. So if you guys did enjoy this, we apologize. It was quite long. We were going to split it up into 2 videos, but then we were like, let's just try and get through it in one. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed a 2-round mock. Rams and Seahawks fans, for those of you who didn't have a first-round pick, you guys got in on this one. So we tried to do that for you guys. So like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the bell icon so you're notified. We're going to be live for the draft. If you guys want to join us for that, that'll be a lot of fun. We'll be answering any draft questions, any Dynasty questions that you guys have while the draft is going on. And that'll be literally all 3 days. We're going to be streaming that. So you guys can come and hang out with us and ask us any of your questions and all that stuff. So join the Discord if you haven't already done so. Totally free to do. That being said, guys, peace out and enjoy your day.
Yeah, enjoy your day. And if you made it this far in the video and you notice the playlist in the corner, comment what it's called, and we'll know the true OGs that made it to the end. But with that being said, peace out, y'all. See you on Thursday for the NFL draft.